Oh, steady on.
The big cat. Cat. Hello.
I turn within, dear Lord, for there you dwell. In my heart of hearts, where all is well. The love, the peace and joy that His Spirit expressed, I find is me, dear God, and make manifest. I turn within, dear Lord, for there you dwell. In my heart of hearts, where all is well. The love, the peace and joy that His Spirit expressed, I find is me, dear God, and make manifest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to LifeLine. This is a Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living, and we are inviting you to this hour of connectivity, livity, love, and laughter. It is such a joy to welcome each and every one of you here this evening to this wonderful experience we call LifeLine, which came about just when COVID started in 2020 as a way in which we could provide some tools and strategies to enable all of our listeners, all of us, to rise above and consciously respond to the challenges that we were facing at that time. And we wanted to help individuals to shift their focus from a fear-based consciousness to a faith-based consciousness. Of course, it's now 3 years and we have moved from strength to strength. We have been able to have great conversations with a number of very, very interesting guests. And we have a very special Temple of Light guest joining us this evening. And we'll tell you more about her in a little while. But I'd like to now invite our pastor, Reverend Anne Shand, to begin, as all things do, with an opening affirmative prayer. Reverend Anne.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome our special guest, Professor Bishop, and welcome. We just align ourselves with that perfect intelligence and wisdom that guides us unerringly.
Reverend
So
Anne, I think you are muted.
No, you're not hearing me. Let me try again.
Not hearing you.
I'm not muted.
No, she's not muted.
Were you hearing me? You're hearing me?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
All right, so let me do the opening. Reverend Anne, let me see if we're hearing you again.
You want me to try again?
No,
we
not
are in
hearing
our
you.
online.
Okay, so let's just begin as we begin all things with God. Let us just know together that one divine presence and power that expresses in and through and as each and every one of us. It is that which now brought us all together this evening for this Lifeline program. It is that which speaks through our very special guest. It is that which, makes all the technology work together so beautifully. It is that which opens our hearts and consciousness to experience whatever messages we need to hear, whatever the whispering of spirit might be and how it impresses upon our consciousness. We truly are grateful for the opportunity to gather here. And I know that each one of us receives a very special blessing through this experience. I'm eternally grateful as I release my word now and just know that all is flowing easily, effortlessly, and perfectly. I truly give thanks that all this is so now, and so it joyfully
So it is.
Amen. Okay. So this evening, friends, we have someone that we would perhaps refer to as a Temple of Light baby. This wonderful soul attended the Sunday school many, many years ago. I would love to perhaps share a photo with you I mean, I don't know which one it is. So let me wait a little bit before we share the photo. When she's on, I can invite her to point, to identify which one of the little ones she is. But just to share a little bit about her. She's an accomplished writer, academic, and visual artist with exhibitions in several countries. In addition to her role as clinical full professor at New York University, she was a 2020 Dora Maar Brown Foundation Fellow in France, and that's 2008 to 2009. She was a 2008-2009 Fulbright Fellow in Morocco, and a 2009-2010 UNESCO Fulbright Fellow in Paris. Wow. She has received several awards, including the OCM Bocas Award for her book, The Gymnast and Other Position, the Canute A. Broadhurst Prize for Short Story Writing, the Arthur Schomburg Award for Excellence in the Humanities, a James Missioner Creative Writing Fellowship, as well as several awards from the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission. So she large both here and in foreign. Her recent artwork consists of brightly colored bone china plates used symbolically in Caribbean homes. This work explores how such plates hid the violent legacy of slavery and colonialism in the Atlantic world. Her plates have been acquired by, among others, the Fitzwilliam Museum, that's Cambridge University, and Williams College Museum of Art. Friends, please help me welcome our guest this evening, Professor Jacqueline Bishop. Lady Jacqueline, it is a pleasure to have you. Oh, it's such a joy to welcome you to this experience this evening. And I want to just jump right in. You know, we asked you, what is your topic? We've been talking about science of mind with other persons, and we've been talking about faith and consciousness and so on. And then you come tell me that the topic is the market woman. The market woman. And it leads me to question, what on earth are you talking about? Or rather, what on earth are you going to talk about? And how is, what sort of relationship does a market woman have with spirituality? Let's hear, I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
A lot.
Well, first, thank you for
Hold
having
on a second. I'm not hearing your sound either. So can I ask Vance or Steve? I mean, I'm not hearing Reverend and I'm not hearing Professor Bishop. So what do we need to tell them to do?
Seems to be you, Sandy.
This sort of sound challenge occurs from time to time. How do we address it? Vance, Steve?
Sandy, we are hearing everyone. So you have to check what's going on your end.
Oh.
We are hearing Reverend Ann and we are hearing the professor.
Oh, so it's, I am not hearing me. My volume was down. My bad. Thank you so much, Steve. Okay, Professor, go right ahead.
So can you hear us now?
I am hearing now.
Okay. So first, I want to say thank you for having me. It feels like a homecoming. I was at Temple of Light for many, many years. It was where I called home, my spiritual home, when I was living in Jamaica. And like I explained, I've published several books, 8 books now, I think, 8. And I'm also an artist, and I function best when I'm given a series of questions and I can answer them. So I think the market woman is, she runs through all of us as Caribbean people. She runs through all of us, certainly as Jamaicans. She is the archetype of who we are as as a people. And to talk about the market woman and how I came to her, I am finishing up a PhD now, a doctorate at the University of Leeds. I would probably have to talk about my own journeys and how I got to where I am. And so do you want to do that? Do you want
Sure,
to?
that's fine. To maybe sort of help us to track where you're coming from and give us a sense of how you got to be where you are.
Right. So I was born, of course, in Jamaica, grew up on the island, was always a very bright child. Went to Holy Childhood High School in Kingston and passed what was then the common entrance, my first try, my first go around. My mom worked with the Davidsons, who were always very, very wonderful to us as a family and to me in particular,
So
right?
just a little clarity is Dr. Sonia and Dr. Winty Davids.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay, got that.
And so they had us around them as though we were their own children and just were really kind and loving to us. And growing up with them, they were my first models as to who I wanted to be. I wanted to be a medical doctor, right? And I was looking at them, and when I passed my common entrance, there were gifts from them, and they were really kind and loving people, the kind of love that extends out. It's funny that I should be having this discussion today because I'm teaching a summer class with students, and we were reading Bell Hooks's All About Love. We just Bell Hooks transitioned not too long ago, and she had 3 books which she calls a love letter to America, and one of them is called All About Love. And we only have 2 more classes left, one today and one on Tuesday, and I always like to end the semester with Bell Hooks talking about love, right? And the students are always like, oh, God, love,
Yes.
Bell Hooks complicates love. And so today we were talking about self-love and, feelings of self-worth and whatnot. And I always ask them at the beginning of this class to define love. And they always define love and do not define self-love in it. And I say, well, this is what Bell Hooks is talking about, right? And we talk about why it is necessary to have self-love, because once you have that kind of a love, it spreads out from there, right? Can once you nurture the self and you have love for the self, and you take care of the self, then that love is expansive, right? It goes from you to others, right? Once you achieve your dreams and your goals, you make it possible for others to do the same. And at the start of the semester, I'm always saying to them, my goal is to help you to find your voice and your vision. And in so many ways, that was what I would see in action with these 2 doctors, right? Was a kind of expansive love, right? That was so big, it incorporated me and my family, right? So so I felt well, this is what I want to be. I want to be a medical doctor. And so I went to Holy Childhood, and though I was very bright, I was doing all these subjects that were not right for me, right? Because I wanted to be a medical doctor. Physics, maths, chemistry, all these things that were absolutely wrong for me, right? And they were absolutely wrong for me. And I did terribly at them because even though I was supposed to be a doctor, I wasn't supposed to be a medical doctor. It wasn't right for me.
Wow.
It wasn't my path. It wasn't my pathway, right? There are other ways to find your place and to find your voice and to find your way. But ours is a society in Jamaica that tells us there are very few ways. And it's not just Jamaica. You have to be a medical doctor. You have to be a lawyer. You have to, very, a few
Right.
ways. But meanwhile, in my family, there were these amazing women, right? My great grandmother was a market woman par excellence, right? And my grandmother was a market woman as well, right? And I remember when I passed my exam for Holy Childhood, she made her way all the way from a small district called Nonsuch, hidden high in the purple blue mountains of
Wow.
Portland. And she came that morning. It was my first morning at Holy Child. I had on my uniform, and it must have taken her 7 hours to see me off to school that morning. Right? So it was fantastic, to see her. And she said, "I just wanted to see you in your school uniform." And so
Oh,
I went. It was beautiful, beautiful story. Love of my life. My grandmother still visits me in my dreams with all these fruits, right? And so my mother eventually migrated, and of course, we followed her to the States. And I was still pursuing this dream of being a medical doctor until life has a way of intervening. And so I ended up in Paris, all right? I ended up in Paris. Now, prior to that, when I was at Temple of Life, uh, uh, I would write my little poems
Mhm.
about children and flowers, and it would get published. You would publish them. I hope you still have them. People would like to get them. Children and poems, and they would be published at Temple of Life, and I would draw my little things, but I didn't know what that meant, that I was writing poems and it was being published in the little circular you had at Temple of Life
got the
and what.
flame,
Okay.
the flame at the time,
The
Reverend
flame,
Anna.
yes, yes, the flame.
We must really look at the archives to see what we can find.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I had no idea what this meant.
Mm.
Uh, I remember Reverend Elma, it was Reverend Elma, was it? Right?
Yes. Mhm.
She would always say to me, "What a talent, what a talent." Um, and and I would always think, but what to do with this talent? I had no idea what to do with this talent. So here I ended up in Paris, and as it was, I ended up being an au pair for this family, the Flammarions, right? And the Flammarions are important because they owned then, I don't know if it's still the case, the largest publishing house in France, right? So I'm their demi au pair now with my little writing poems on the side and whatnot, and my little drawings and paintings. And of course, they pass by and see this, right? And they start encouraging this, right? Because of course, France then, and when I returned recently for this prestigious fellowship, it was still then not a television culture, it was a reading culture,
Oh,
right? So they thought this writing was important, right? And so they're encouraging this writing, and they're encouraging the visual arts. And so by the time I get back to the States, everything has changed.
mhm.
I realize now that I am going to pursue this. I don't know where it will lead, but I'm going to pursue this, right? And so I end up going to graduate school as in creative writing and in the visual arts, right? Now, our history on the island of Jamaica is an interesting one. It's a fascinating history, right? Um, we have a narrative in which we say that art began with the arrival of Edna Manley on the island in 1924, and we carry on. I actually don't believe this, right? And my PhD challenges this narrative. My PhD says, no, we were here long before that. So
Yes.
art must have been here before that. And so I'm looking at women's sewing, right? Or decorative and ornamental tradition. And sure enough, I find women making art even under the most oppressive conditions of slavery. And what do I find? I find the market woman. I find the market woman. I find her exchanging information with the indigenous woman. The market woman came off the ships with, and she started selling, right? That's what she did, you know, because slavery structured the society in such a way that the plantation society, they wanted the labor from the enslaved, but they didn't want to feed the enslaved, so they gave them plots, right? And male slaves, or the male enslaved, were the ones who worked the plots, and the women went to the market and they sold. So from the very earliest images coming out of the Caribbean, out of Jamaica, who do we see? We see the market woman. We see the market woman. So she is at the very foundation of who we are as Jamaicans. I say you cannot go around who we are. Through every Jamaican runs a market woman. She is the definition of industry. She ties us to our past and she ties us to our future. So she is integral to understanding who we are. And so I became fascinated with this woman. I became completely fascinated. And the fact that every artist just about writes, represents her. She is the face of the Caribbean, but nobody writes about her. She's completely overlooked. She is completely overlooked. And yet there she is all this time, leading us, taking care of us, right? And for those of us who have the eyes to see her, we see her, but most people do not. So that's how I arrived at the market woman.
Okay, wow. You know, there are some connections, some comments that are in the chat that I'd just like to share with you very quickly. Andreen Bonner is saying that she's
who's herself a writer.
yes, she's loving your story. And then Yvonne Carty, good to see you, Jacqueline.
Yes, hello, Yvonne. I remember her quite well.
Right, and Steve Golding, who is on, says, "What a connection, genius." You know, so I'm hearing it, and I'm thinking of, you know, my mother and my grandmother, who, my mother worked as a secretary, but when I see what she did in her home, how she managed food and made food stretch, so I get the symbolism of the market woman. So, you know, our women folk did so much to bind our families in a way that perhaps would not have happened if they didn't exist, because of the oppression at the time, you know. A really powerful symbolism.
It's interesting because I did a series called History at the Dinner Table, and I did it for the Ceramics Biennial. And I was a little bit taken aback at how the Ceramics Biennial in the UK, I was a little bit taken aback at how should I say this? At how well received it was, right? And you have some images from that, but it was kind of surprising. And what I did for that series was, you know, every Jamaican home that I've ever been into, they have a cabinet and they have these ceramic plates, right? And those were the plates that you used for Sunday dinner, for Easter,
Mhm.
for after a funeral, you pulled out those plates, you know. And so I took those plates because after my grandmother's funeral, now you must understand, my grandmother and I were inordinately close, right? And I looked at her cabinet and there were all her plates, you know, some of them were in the shape of a fish and all sorts of things. And I started to wonder, where did these plates come from? You know, and of course ended up at sugar and slavery. And so I reversed the narrative, but I made the plates beautiful. And so I did them for the ceramics biennial, and oh my word, right? The it took over the UK, right? Ended up in the Times of London, everything. You know, Home and Garden, everybody was talking about this place. And then the V&A came and they wanted to purchase it, and Cambridge University came and they wanted to purchase it, and everybody wanted to purchase it. I had never quite seen anything quite like this before. Within those plates, there is, of course, the market woman, right? Within those plates.
Perhaps, no, you tell me when it's the right time to share them with our listeners and our audience.
Once I'm finished with this, we can
Sure.
share them. And so they were acquired by by Cambridge University, by the Fitzwilliam. They're going to be on, they've been holding them back for this big exhibition, which opens in September. I'm going to be on the BBC soon talking about these very plates, right? And so, and then another big institution in the UK, the Paul Mellon Foundation. My goodness, my cat was on me, you know, so I have all sorts of cat hair on me. Came and they said, we want to do some work on the market woman. We find her fascinating, right? So they commissioned a series of plates on the market woman, and they made a film with me talking about the market woman. They wrote to me when the film came out and the plates and everything. They said, my God, you brought down our website, right, with this film and this market woman, right? I say this to say, our history has so much currency, and this woman, the market woman, is not a woman to be overlooked. She is not, right? She is completely phenomenal. She is formidable, right? And she is completely amazing. So there's that film and there's that place. Of course, what Williams College Museum of Art's like, we want them, right? So they got the plates. Now you can share both plates.
So are they repeatable? Like is it just one of a kind, and then
there are sets of 3, but I'm not going to repeat them beyond that. You know, the museums wouldn't like it too, and I don't want to. She's not repeatable.
I wanted to ask you a question while Sandy's putting up the plates. I'm from the country, and the market woman is the epitome of independence, industry.
Yes.
She was the go-between the homes, the professional women.
Absolutely.
And she was the psychologist, because they left their offices and they usually end up there. She knows exactly what each household needs. If she didn't have it, she knew where to find it.
You for my PhD dissertation.
Wow.
So I have a good feeling about it, because some of us as youngsters growing up, we had to stay with the market women until our parents got us, because they knew our preferences, the favorite fruits and the type of vegetables, stuff like that. So she had a very important in our family life. So
I oftentimes say, so I'm working on other projects with the market woman, because of course the metropole now is like, they can't get enough of her now. But I say no one knows the island like the market woman. She
Wow.
I believe that. That is true.
every herb, every
That is
bush.
true.
If you had a fever, who did you go to? But the
Market
market
woman.
woman, right? She
Right.
is, you know what I'd like to do? I would like to do a big statue of the market woman in Jamaica, a
Wow.
big statue in honor of this woman,
Oh.
right? Okay.
Let me share a little bit of the last couple of comments, and then I will just share the some of these pictures of the plates. Okay, so we have a comment. Love the term male enslaved. I love that. So it's an experience that they were having. It wasn't a way that they were defined.
That's right. They are, I do not like the term slave. These people were enslaved. They are not slaves. Thank you very much.
And then Yvonne Carty is saying that her grandmother was a market woman.
She runs through all of us,
All of
through
us.
every last one of us. You know, I was talking to an African-American woman, and she said, because she said, in the same way that the housekeeper runs through every African-American person, it seems to me the market woman runs through every character.
Correct.
I was talking to my friend, and she was like, okay, at the end of the month, she puts this money for, she's in Jamaica, this money for the light bill, and this, and I'm looking at her, I'm laughing, I'm saying, do you know where you even get that from? When you're putting money in envelopes, do you know where you even get that from? Right? You're putting money in envelopes, and you're putting elastic bands around this. Do you know where you even get that from?
Market woman, man. She said,
Okay, let me just finish up on the comments now. So many responses. Lilith Nelson says, you cannot imagine how true that is. Jacqueline, there are some market women in my past and in many of us. Steve brings up Tamu Davidson. Says, so true about the market woman, so she's acknowledged that. And Dawn Williams, I remember my grandmother's cabinet in the hills of St. Catherine. All of grandparents, we had the cabinets. Oh man, yeah. I actually have my grandmother's cabinet today. I got it fixed and polished, and it is in full view.
You have to send me a picture.
Yes, I will. Yvonne Chang Oliver says, I also had a market woman in my life. My grandmother would put me in the hamper on the donkey, and to the market we went.
That's right.
And Reverend John is online as well. He's saying, wonderful to hear your story. Carol Campbell, she truly is the symbol of resilience, creativity, and fortitude.
And she connects us to our past and our future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, let me just share my screen. Now, before I go into the plates though, I want you to bring up, let me see now. I want you to tell us which one of these kids you are. Let me go back to, hold on, I'll soon come to that. Let me just come back to our screen. Oh, I need to go to my PowerPoint. This is where I need to be. And let me bring it up big. And I want you to tell me which one of these little ones you are.
I'm in this green dress.
Is this you here?
This is me in the green dress, leaning beside my cousin. And I see, and here's my other cousin, and this is Aunt Sonia. And I see my brother, all my family is here. Every last one of us. Every last one of us is here. Yes.
Is this when we had plenty children in Sunday school?
Yes.
There is Morgie. Is this
Reverend-
Tamu?
No, Tamu would have been younger.
Let me see what's going on. Yes, that is Tamu.
This one here?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yes.
You need to look at it.
And over here, this looks like a Davidson as well. Not
Yes,
sure.
that is Chima. That is Chima
Okay.
Davidson.
Wow.
And this is my sister Michelle in the blue dress here.
Here?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
And this is my brother Patrick. And this is my brother Dave.
Where? Show me Patrick and Dave.
So Patrick standing up in the red in the
Oh,
back.
over
This is
here.
my, yes, and this is my Aunt Venice.
Where's
And this
that?
is my brother Dave. She
Where's
has
the
a long
auntie?
hair. She's,
Auntie right here.
yes, and this is my brother Dave. My whole family is there. And this
And
is
look at
Opal, my cousin. The
Oh,
whole
wow.
family is there.
So the Sunday school at the Temple of Light back in the, by the way, when, can you remember what year this was?
I'm not going to date myself, please. I'm eternally 28.
You're eternally 28. I hear you. I hear you. But when I look at Reverend Sonia's hair like this, you know, wow. Wow. This is a long time ago. Let me look back into
I
the
don't like this is a long time ago comment, you know.
All right, let me just move to the next slide, right?
Yes, please.
And so tell us about this. I mean, this is the we're going to look at some of the plates.
So
tell
these
us
are
about
some of the
this.
plates from the Market Woman. And
Mhm.
what I was doing here is tracing her from slavery to today.
Mm.
And Novia at the Jamaica Observer,
Over McDonald White, yes.
yeah, when she saw the horror, you know, the kind of thing that was going on, she said, well, we need to show them in Jamaica as well. And so she did a spread of two pages, and this is one of the pages about the market.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Oh, this is fantastic. Now let's share some of the plates. This was the Sunday Observer, and it was September 11, 2022.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go to this is one of the plates. Tell
And
us
so
a
what
little
I
bit
was
about
doing,
this.
I think of this as like a central image of the Market Woman story. There is a film about this series. The Paul Mellon Foundation in the UK made it. And you can watch the film online. They made it available to everyone. I was very happy about that because I wanted it to reach kids in Jamaica and everybody. Of course, they said that it crashed their site. So many people went on to see it. But what I was doing is I was working with archival photographs. And there are all these images of the three muses, you know, usually three white women. Or there are images where Europe is supported by Africa and India, right? Someone's asking what's the name of the film. If you put Jacqueline Bishop plus the Market Woman, it will pop up, the film. And what I did was I rearranged that art history story and I put the Market Woman being supported by Europe and Asia, and I centered the Market Woman. So I oftentimes see this as my project, right? As my art historical project.
Mhm.
And I think when I was applying to PhD programs, it's notoriously difficult to get funding as somebody who is not a UK citizen for a PhD program. But I was very lucky in a sense because the project that I was working on, which is about needlework and about the Market Woman, I ended up at the University of Leeds fully funded because they so believed in what I was trying to do,
Awesome.
which is not to say that Edna Manley is not of importance to Jamaican art, but which is to say art was being made in Jamaica by women and men long before she got here.
Understood. Understood. Okay, that's one. Let's look at another. Tell us about this.
Right. And so what I was doing here is putting the Market Woman in a discourse of emancipation, right?
Mhm.
the market woman, even today, still needs to be emancipated. She is so overlooked, right? And as we are dealing with serious problems in this world. We are dealing with global warming, which many of us thought would not be a problem in our lifetimes, right? And I talk to my uncles, I talk to people in Jamaica regularly, right? I come to the island regularly. I have programs with little kids in Nonsuch, and I bring them to New York, and I bring kids from New York to Nonsuch and whatnot. And we didn't realize that global warming would be the problem that it is. My uncle says this to me all the time. He was like, my goodness, I never thought so. That it would be a problem. Key to solving some of these issues, including critical food security issues, is the market, right? So we need to liberate and emancipate her from a lot of the stereotypes. So I frame her within a discourse of emancipation here, right?
So, wow, and I see the Aki,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I see a black man praying.
No, it's not a black, it's an emancipation discourse, you know, am I not a woman and a sister, that was used then. So that's the emancipation discourse. It's an art history discourse that the market woman is looking at. Yeah.
All right, look what tell us about this one. There's a breadfruit leaf, there is a poinciana flower.
Yeah, hold on. You want us to try? Say hi to everyone. This is
That's your kitty.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, Kitty. What's the kitty's name?
Salem.
Salem.
Yes. Now look at this image, right? This is the image of, there are multiple things going on in this image, all right? This is, of course, an enslaved woman with her child.
Strapped to her back.
That's right, right? And she has to be doing marketing, right? The poinciana is important, right? Because one of the things that the market woman was chastised for was her knowledge of the landscape. And the poinciana was one of those plants that could be used for abortion, right? So she had all this knowledge that she could pass along, right, to women. She is so knowledgeable. She is such a knowledgeable person, right? So you're looking at multiple things in this one image.
I'm almost beginning to think about the market woman as an inner archetype that is present in each and every one of us, whether we are male or female, that which overcomes, that which rises, that which is wisdom, and that which is so much that you know, we could learn a lot from if we opened our consciousness to get to know that part of us.
Well, I'll tell you something. We might not respect her, but outside of Jamaica, she's gaining a lot of respect. She is gaining a lot of respect. And this is why she's ending up in the institutions and in the places that she's ending up in. The Fitzwilliam has this fantastic catalog that that is coming out with the black. It's called the Black Atlantic. You can look it up. You know, the Guardian just wrote about the exhibition. And when you open that catalog, this is the image that starts it.
Awesome! Wow.
This
But let me ask Professor Bishop another thing. Yeah, this is this same one with the breadfruit leaf. She has the child strapped on her back. The poinciana leaf. If we all remember that sales, entrepreneurial, she was the first step out into selling in order to gain for her family. It's the first saleswoman, if you think about it. So we may not think that, you know, in Jamaica she has, you know, that type of recognition, But if you notice, especially young people, when they're going to start out something in the entrepreneurial world, it's usually to sell,
Mhm.
to market, to
Yeah,
do something.
a few years ago, I used to every other week go down to the Crossroads Market. And there was one particular lady I used to buy from. She had everything. And this woman would calculate all the cost of the, she had it on a piece of paper, or she would just say, okay,
Mhm.
pound a carrot and this of that and that, and then she just add it up and give me a figure. And then one Saturday, this young lady came. No, when I went to the market, she wasn't there. There was another young lady selling, a young woman. I said, where's the lady that was here? Oh, that's my mother. She's not here today. She gone to country. So the next time I saw her, I said, I missed you, man. I came and I saw there was another lady selling. She said, that's my daughter. She's doing her master's at the university now in so and so and so.
Mm.
And I said,
Ah.
okay then. So a lot of folk, and then she doesn't want to do anything else other than do her market work.
Exactly.
She's earned enough to send her children to school, to educate them at a high level, and she's quite happy.
I think it was Lorna Goodison who talked about the fact that a lot of the first University of the West Indies graduates had parents who were market women,
Mm.
right?
Wow.
And
Let's go to the next clip.
I just want to respond to Reverend Anne here.
Yes.
I wish I had her entrepreneurial skills. I really do. I oftentimes I'm upset with my grandmother and my great grandmother for not sitting me down and passing it on. I am envious of the ways in which they managed money.
Yep.
Mm.
Oh, amazing.
They
Mm.
they bought property from this,
Mhm.
right?
Definitely. Okay,
Um,
this I'm seeing. Is this a melon?
It is a melon, right?
It's
Um,
a beautiful
and
picture.
what I was trying to do was use the landscape to surround and protect this woman, right? When you are in such a vile institution as slavery, what can protect you but the landscape,
Mhm.
right? So
Wow.
this was the first set. This was history at the dinner table that kind of surprised me. I made a lot of things possible. A lot of things became possible because of this series.
Mhm.
It surprised me, the response to the series, by simply looking at the plates and asking questions from the plates that I saw in homes, in Jamaican women's homes,
Mhm.
just asking questions from these plates.
Okay.
And
Oh,
yes,
wow. And I think this might be the last one.
yes, 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 they said hi. This is so spoiled. He's like, well, have they said hi to me? I'm like, yes, they said hi to you.
Oh, dear Kitty.
Yes.
Tell us the story of this one now.
The same thing, fruits, vegetables from the Caribbean. Of course, there's a huge sugarcane plant here. But I also, when I look at this, I see the community that the women have formed together in this oppressive system, right? Women tend to form communities that can protect each other despite whatever is going on.
Mhm.
And that's my story. And I'm sticking.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Let me just look at the comments that have come in, the last couple of comments. Oh, Steve, you were asking the name of the film. Could you share that with us, please?
I think it's called The Market Woman Story. If you put in Jacqueline Bishop and Market Woman, it will pop right up. It's from Paul Mellon, Mellon, which is a big institution in the UK.
Okay. Okay,
You'll,
awesome.
you'll
And
find.
then Dr. Tammo, yes, it is me. Yes, she was looking at the photograph, indeed. Corrine Kido, thanks for your genius. Carol Campbell, a technical question. What technique are you using for the images on the plates? China
Right.
painting or decals?
Okay. It's photo transfer, right? Thank you for that question. So how I make the work is I look for archival images, and then I cut these archival images out, and then I collage them together to tell a
Okay.
story. And then I make the collages. If you look at the film, it makes it very clear. There's a young woman, a British woman, that I work with in making this. I'll be making some more works. I have all sorts of projects going on, but in the fall it will be quite busy. I'm going to be in Ghana.
Wow.
There's also the Fitzwilliam, that exhibition with the plates, History at the Dinner Table opens. They are very excited about sharing those plates and the stories that they tell. They're using those plates to rethink the story of slavery and their participation in slavery.
Wow.
I would never have thought that something that I have made would be used in those ways. Ceramics Biennial and the Textile Biennial have asked me to work on something. In that sense, for the fall as well, I'm putting an Indigenous woman and a market woman in conversation, because I think that is our history. And I think there was a lot of sharing going on between the Maroons and the Indigenous population of Jamaica. That is part of my research as well.
Okay.
When I am told that people stand in front of the plates and they cry, right? I am deeply moved. None of these things you can predict, but I think it goes to, and the fact that at some level, we are all having a very human experience,
Of course.
you know. And when I guess when people look at the plates, you know, they're wondering to themselves, as I wonder as I make the plates, how could such an atrocity have taken place, you know, to these women, to these people, right? And I am hoping through my plates that we stop overlooking each other in ways that we can, right?
Yes.
The market woman is brilliant. She is completely, no one knows that island of Jamaica the way she does. No one knows the Caribbean the way she does. And I am fascinated with her.
Wow. Wow. I'm seeing at a deeper level that market woman presence is perhaps another way in which God expresses as us. And that no matter what our background or what our heritage, that archetype, that presence, that spiritual essence of us is alive and well within us, and that we need to call on its wisdom to guide us in our everyday moments, in every single moment that we have. Just some last minute comments. We're going to be wrapping up in a little bit. Yvonne Carter says, your mom and I went to purchase my cabinet from an elderly lady, and it is prominent in my living room.
And the picture, I want to see the picture.
Yes, definitely. Steve says, were the original plates you took with you actually your grandmother's?
No, no. My grandmother's plates are still in her home in Nonsuch, right?
In her cabinet?
Yes, in her cabinet.
Awesome.
cabinet.
Steve says again, Miss Lou wrote about the market woman.
A lot of people write about the market woman,
Yes.
right? She's not missing in our literature. That's not my point. She's missing in criticism of art history.
Got that. Got that.
Mhm.
What would you say, in just sort of, we want to close off in a little bit. What would you say has been the lesson, the biggest lesson that the market woman taught you personally?
Her relationship to the landscape
Mm,
and her relationship to the people around her.
mhm.
No one knows the landscape like the market woman, and no one knows us as Jamaicans, and particularly Jamaican women, like
Like the market woman.
if you missed your period, you ran to the market woman. If
You
you
know that too.
your child was sick, you ran to the market woman. If you had a fever, you went to the market woman. She knew how to keep her mouth shut with whatever was going on in your life. She knew your taste. The reverend here is absolutely correct that she linked various parts of the society. She linked town and country. She linked different classes. She linked different groups of people without question. She was the glue that held the society together,
Oh,
right?
uh,
Consequently, let me just finish this thought.
sure.
Consequently, why don't we even have a monument to this woman?
Mhm.
Have a point.
Awesome. Oh, this has been a really, really amazing conversation. We've had comments and questions from those who have been joining. Throughout. Carol Campbell says, thanks for that, Jacqueline. The series is brilliant. Congratulations. An idea whose time has come. Yes, thank you for that, Carol. Yes, so I don't know. I just see there's so much more that we could talk about, and I could see that. I mean, let me ask you one last question. Going back to those times in the Temple of Light, what would you say is one thing that you have taken from the teaching that you had from the temple but way back in the day that has guided you and supported you on the path that you have taken and experiencing the successes that you have and the insights that you've had, expressing your creativity in the way that you have? What is that one thing that you think that has
You know, it's always difficult to talk about one thing. I think the core of who I am and how I approach the world was in fact formed at the Temple of Light.
Mhm.
You know, I really think so. I think that the Temple of Light for me was a place where I was allowed to be,
Mhm.
where I ended up in a situation at the Temple of Light where I became part of something, especially with Aunt Sonia and her husband, where their willingness to extend themselves
Mhm.
involved me and my family as well. And I try to extend that to as many people as I can, right? And I think that that's the most important thing that I got from that experience.
Mhm.
It is significant in my trajectory that my first poems and my first drawings happened there. That is a stamp,
Okay.
that is a mark, that is a moment.
Yes.
And even when I was confused and whatnot, it happened there. So that was a validation. That was a valid.
Got that. Wow. Professor Jacqueline Bishop. It has been an amazing hour. You know,
For me,
you've helped me, and I'm sure many others, to see this familiar presence in our society, in our culture, differently. You know, to do certainly my estimation of the market woman has shifted. My understanding of her role has shifted. My respect for who she is and what and the role she has played in my life, in the life of my people, has shifted. Your plates are absolutely gorgeous. I'm not going to look at my cabinet the same after today. And I'm going to ask that each of us, that we start to think about those qualities and see how we embody those qualities. What can we do to exemplify the spirit of the market woman? I think it's Andreen Bonner who is commenting. You have spoken, Jacqueline. A monument must happen. Awesome. Awesome. So I would like to just, before I pass on to Reverend Anne, to just say very quickly that this, we're happy that we could have done this Lifeline program, to have had you here. And friends, if you feel moved to support our ministry, we invite you to visit our donate page at donate.templeoflightcsl.org. We are so grateful for your support and your willingness to help us to continue to be a beacon of light in the world. And so I'd just like to turn it over now to Reverend Anne, who is going to just wrap us up, to do our thanks and to do our closing affirmative prayer.
Thank you, Sandy. And thank you, Professor Bishop, because that market woman stands for community. And this is what we are evolving into, a thriving community. And if anybody could thrive better than a market woman, you have not looked at her as an example of her entrepreneurial skills. She started things like partner and stuff. A lot of things went on in that market, believe it or not. So I thank you for a truly wonderful session, the openness, as well as the ideas that will allow some of us to think, because we have a self-love, a lot to think about when you really view that market woman with open eyes. Thank you a lot. It's the epitome of spirituality. It's, another time for another discussion. So thank you, Sandy, for your masterful way in pulling everything together. Thank you, Vance and Steve, and most of all our audience. Thank you all for the participation and the consciousness that we share as a community. So just let us go within, yes, and acknowledge, yes, that spirit of love that continuously surrounds each one of us, and it's outpouring itself in through, as each one of us has this perfect expression of community, of camaraderie, friendship, and fellowship, which is truly part of our genotype. We do give thanks for this evening, and just know that this consciousness continues to bless us as we go on our separate assignments, ensuring that our pathway is always safe, secure, and easy. And everything that we have spoken about this evening, we know it's God in action in, through, as each one. So we just give thanks as I release my word to law, and know that it is so. And so it is.
It is. Wow.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Jackie. Even as Reverend Anne is closing, Karen Ford Warner jumped in saying, thank you for this profound sharing, Professor Jacqueline. My grandmother was reborn for me tonight as I saw her on her donkey with her hampers on her way to the market. Profoundly emotional experience. Thank you for that, Karen. So, it was a pleasure working with you and having you as our guest. And I really look forward to keeping you in touch as we move forward. And I will send you the picture. And anybody else who has a picture of a cabinet, take the picture, send it to me, and I'll send it on to Professor Jacqueline.
Okay.